January 1943. Somewhere along the frozen spine of eastern Ukraine, a single anti-tank gun sits dug into the reverse slope of a low hill. The barrel is cold. The crew, 3 men, huddle behind a shield of welded steel, their breath clouding in the gray morning light. Below them, maybe 800 meters down the gradual incline, the snow begins to churn. Tracks. Heavy ones. The gunner leans into his sight. Through the glass, dark shapes emerge from the tree line. Low, angular, methodical. Panzers. He counts them silently. 1, 3, 7, 11 in all, moving in column up the slope, engines grinding, snow spraying from their treads. They don't see him yet. He adjusts the elevation wheel. The reticle settles on the lead tank's glacis plate. His loader slides around into the breech with a metallic snap. The gunner exhales slowly, finger resting on the trigger. The Panzers keep coming, closer. Their turrets are level, guns pointed straight ahead, barrels parallel to the frozen ground. They can't elevate yet, and that's going to kill them. By January 1943, the Eastern Front has become a graveyard measured in kilometers. The German summer offensive, Operation Blue, collapsed at Stalingrad 2 months prior. Now the Wehrmacht is bleeding backward across the steppe, fighting delaying actions through villages with unpronounceable names, across rivers that freeze solid enough to bear the weight of tanks. The Soviet counteroffensive, Operation Little Saturn, has shattered the flanks of Army Group Don. Entire divisions are encircled or shattered. The Red Army is advancing westward in a broad, grinding wave, reclaiming Ukrainian farmland one frozen field at a time. But the retreat is not a rout. German armored units still possess lethal cohesion, and panzer columns still prowl the gaps between Soviet spearheads, hunting for weak points, supply lines, and opportunities to counterattack. This particular sector, a low ridge system southwest of Voroshilovgrad, has been abandoned by Soviet infantry the day before. The position is too exposed, too difficult to resupply. But not every Soviet unit pulled back. A single anti-tank gun crew detached from the 6th Guards Rifle Division was ordered to stay behind. Their mission? Delay any German advance long enough for the main force to regroup 5 kilometers east. The crew consists of 3 men. The gunner is a senior sergeant named Mikhail Surkov, 24 years old, a veteran of the Bryansk front. He has been firing the 76mm ZS-3 divisional gun since the autumn of 1941. His loader, a young conscript from Siberia, has been with him for 3 weeks. The third man, a spotter, lies prone in the snow 20 meters forward, watching the valley through binoculars. The German column advancing towards Surkov's position belongs to the 11th Panzer Division, a formation that has been fighting continuously since the opening days of Barbarossa. The tanks are a mixed unit, mostly Panzer IIIs and IVs, veterans themselves scarred by 2 years of combat. Their mission is reconnaissance in force, probe Soviet defenses, locate gaps, report back. They expect scattered resistance, maybe infantry with rifles and grenades. They do not expect a prepared gun position on high ground. Panzer design philosophy has always favored forward aggression. German tanks are built for breakthrough and pursuit, flat terrain, open fields, speed over static defense. Their turrets traverse smoothly, their optics are excellent, their guns are accurate, but they have a critical limitation: gun depression. A Panzer IV can depress its 75mm gun only 5 degrees below horizontal. A Panzer III, even less. This means that when climbing a slope or facing an enemy positioned above them, the crew cannot lower the barrel enough to engage targets until they crest the hill or close the distance dramatically. Surkov knows this. Every Soviet anti-tank gunner knows this. It is drilled into them during training. Use the terrain, force them uphill, make them expose their bellies. The ridge Surkov occupies is deceptive. From the German perspective below, it appears gentle, a rolling rise, nothing dramatic. But the reverse slope where Surkov sits is steep enough that his gun can fire downward at a sharp angle while remaining hull down, invisible from below until the first shot. He has ranged the approach already, 800 meters to the tree line, 600 to the base of the slope, 400 to effective killing range. He has 12 rounds of armor-piercing ammunition. The wind is calm, the gun is zeroed. He waits, motionless, as the Panzers grind closer through the snow. Wars are fought not just with steel and fire, but with dirt and elevation. The reverse slope position is one of the oldest advantages in warfare, dating back to archers on ridges, artillery hidden behind hills. For an anti-tank gunner, it is nearly perfect. Surkov's ZS-3 sits just below the crest, invisible to anyone approaching from below. He can see them, they cannot see him, and because he is firing downward, every shot strikes the thinnest part of a tank's armor, the top of the hull, the engine deck, the turret roof. Meanwhile, the Panzers, climbing uphill with their guns locked in a forward arc, cannot return fire without first cresting the hill and exposing their entire silhouette. Terrain, in this moment, is not neutral. It is a weapon as lethal as the gun itself. Mikhail Surkov did not become a senior sergeant by luck. Soviet anti-tank doctrine in 1943 is brutal and unforgiving. Gunners are taught to fire fast, fire accurately, and expect no second chances. Training emphasizes patience, discipline, and the importance of the first shot. A missed round means the enemy closes the distance. A hit means survival. Surkov has fired hundreds of practice rounds, learned to read range by terrain features to compensate for wind and cold. He knows his gun the way a pianist knows keys, instinctively, without thought. His hands move through the sequence automatically. Traverse, elevate, trigger, reload, repeat. German tanks in 1943 are formidable, but not invincible. The Panzer III carries 50 mm of frontal armor, effective against most Soviet infantry weapons, but vulnerable to dedicated anti-tank guns at medium range. The Panzer IV, with its long 75 mm gun, is more dangerous but still relies on flat engagement geometry. Both tanks share the same flaw: limited gun. Depression. Designed for the plains of Poland and France, they struggle in mountainous or hilly terrain. Climbing a slope, a Panzer crew is effectively blind to threats above them until the last moment, and by then, it is often too late. Fear is a weapon, and Surkov wields it without knowing. He is calm, his heartbeat is steady. He has done this before, waited in ambush, controlled his breathing, trusted his training. Below, the Panzer crews are confident but not alert. They are advancing through what they believe is abandoned territory, expecting no serious resistance. Their hatches are closed against the cold, visibility limited to narrow vision slits and periscopes. They cannot hear the wind or smell the air. They are sealed inside steel boxes, moving forward on faith and routine. When the first shell strikes, that confidence will shatter instantly. Panic spreads faster than fire in an ambush. One burning tank becomes 11 seconds of chaos, and chaos kills coordination. From inside a Panzer climbing that slope, the world is small and loud. The driver sees only snow and the tank ahead. The commander scans through his cupola, searching for movement, infantry, anything. The gunner peers through his sight, traversing slowly left and right. They are looking forward, always forward. The doctrine is forward. No one is watching the ridgeline above. No one expects a gun dug in on the reverse slope. When the first round punches through the lead tank's engine deck, there is no warning, just a flash, a deafening crack, and suddenly the radio is screaming. The column halts. Drivers throw transmissions into reverse. Gunners frantically crank elevation wheels, trying to raise barrels that will not rise high enough. They are trapped, and they know it. Why did the Panzers advance blindly? Likely, the company commander assumed Soviet forces had fully withdrawn. Reconnaissance reported empty villages, abandoned positions. The column was moving cautiously, but not defensively. No infantry screen, no aerial reconnaissance, just tanks rolling through snow, trusting speed and armor. It is a calculated risk that becomes a fatal mistake. Once committed to the slope, reversing is slow. Turning around exposes thin side armor. The only option is forward, but forward means climbing into Surkov's field of fire. There is no good choice, only bad ones and worse ones. The lead Panzer reaches 600 meters. Surkov's finger tightens. The trigger breaks cleanly. The Zis-3 roars, a sharp, violent crack that echoes across the valley. Recoil drives the gun backward. Smoke and flame erupt from the muzzle. Downrange, the armor-piercing shell travels faster than sound. It strikes the lead Panzer just behind the turret. The round punches through the thin engine deck armor like paper. Inside, fuel lines rupture. The engine detonates. Flames burst from every hatch and seam. The tank lurches forward, slews sideways, and stops. Black smoke pours skyward. The column halts instantly. Engines roar as drivers slam into reverse. Turrets begin to traverse wildly, searching for the source of fire. Commanders shout into radios, but they cannot see him. Surkov is still invisible, nestled below the ridgeline, barrel smoking. His loader already has the next round chambered. Surkov adjusts traverse. The second Panzer, reversing frantically, fills his sight picture. He fires. Another hit, this time through. The glacis plate at a steep downward angle. The shell penetrates. The tank shudders, stops, begins to burn. 2 down, 9 remain. The German column is fracturing now. Some tanks continue reversing. Others try to turn, exposing their flanks. One commander, desperate, orders his driver forward, trying to crest the hill and engage. It is a brave decision and a doomed one. Surkov tracks the movement, leads the target slightly, fires. The 3rd Panzer takes a round through the turret ring. The turret jams. Smoke billows. The crew bails out, running through snow. Surkov's rhythm is mechanical now. Traverse, elevate, fire. The loader works without words, slamming rounds into the breach, tapping Surkov's shoulder. 4, 5, 6. Each shot is a kill or a mobility kill. Each Panzer that stops becomes a stationary target for the next round. The German company commander, somewhere in the middle of the column, realizes the trap. He orders smoke. Canisters deploy, white phosphorus billowing across the slope. But the wind is wrong, blowing east to west, pushing the smoke away from Surkov's position. It helps nothing. Visibility remains clear. Surkov fires into the 7th Panzer. The round strikes low, shattering a track. The tank spins uselessly, driver gunning the engine, one tread whipping loose. It becomes an anchor, blocking the retreat of tanks behind it. The column is now a traffic jam of burning steel and desperate maneuvers. 8. The loader's hands are blistering from hot shell casings. Surkov doesn't notice. His world has narrowed to the reticle, the trigger, the rhythm. A Panzer tries to reverse downhill at speed, loses control, slews sideways. Surkov puts a round through its side armor. Ammunition cooks off inside. The turret lifts slightly, then settles. 9. 10. The remaining tanks are fleeing now, abandoning formation, racing back toward the tree line. One commander, Keepin, as his head, orders his driver to zigzag, spoiling Surkov's aim. But the range is still inside 400 meters. Surkov leads the target, compensates for movement, fires. The shell strikes the rear hull. Fire erupts. 11. The last Panzer reaches the tree line and vanishes into the shadows. Surkov swings his sight, searching for additional targets. There are none. The valley is silent except for the crackle of burning tanks and the low moan of wind through shattered metal. His loader sits back, hands trembling. The spotter crawls back from his forward position, face pale, eyes wide. Surkov exhales slowly, releases the trigger, and lifts his head from the sight. Smoke drifts across the slope like fog. 11 fires burn in the snow below. It has been less than 8 minutes since the first shot. For a long time, no one speaks. The 3 men sit behind the guns, staring downhill at the carnage. 11 Panzers, some still burning, others silent and broken, scattered across 600 meters of frozen slope. Black smoke rises in crooked columns, staining the gray sky. The wind carries the smell of burning oil, rubber, and something worse. Surkov's hands are shaking now, adrenaline draining away, leaving only exhaustion. His loader pulls off his gloves, stares at the blisters forming on his palms. The spotter takes a drink from a canteen, spits it out, his mouth too dry to swallow. They wait. Protocol demands they hold the position until ordered to withdraw, but there is no counterattack, no infantry assault. The single surviving Panzer does not return. The Germans have abandoned the field. An hour later, a Soviet reconnaissance patrol arrives, ski troops moving cautiously up the reverse slope. They stop, stunned, staring at the wreckage below. The patrol leader, a lieutenant, approaches Surkov's position. He looks at the gun, the spent shell casings piled in the snow, the 3 men sitting silent and still. He counts the burning tanks, counts again. How many, he asks. 11, Surkov replies quietly. The lieutenant stares at him. Then he takes out a notebook, writes quickly, and signals his radio man. Within the hour, a photographer arrives. Pictures are taken. Surkov standing beside the gun, the valley of wrecked Panzers in the background. The images will appear in Red Star, the Soviet military newspaper, though Surkov's name will be misspelled. The official tally, confirmed by Soviet intelligence officers and later cross-referenced with German 11th Panzer Division records, lists 11 tanks destroyed in a single engagement on January 17, 1943. 4 Panzer IIIs, 7 Panzer IVs. Total crew casualties, 22 killed, 17 wounded or captured. The engagement LA, stead approximately 7 to 9 minutes. 12 armor-piercing rounds were expended. 11 found their mark. Surkov is awarded the Order of the Red Banner 3 weeks later at a ceremony held in a farmhouse 20 kilometers behind the lines. He shakes hands with a general whose name he forgets immediately. The loader receives a commendation. The spotter is transferred to another unit. The ZS-3 gun remains in service until it is destroyed by German artillery in March. For the Germans, the loss is catastrophic on a tactical level but barely registers strategically. The 11th Panzer Division files a report noting the ambush, recommends greater caution when advancing through hilly terrain, and continues its fighting retreat westward. The war grinds on. Thousands more tanks will burn before it ends. Surkov survives the war. He is wounded twice more, once near Kursk, once in Poland, but lives to see Berlin. After demobilization in 1946, he returns to his village in the Urals, works in a factory, marries, raises children. He does not speak often about the war. When asked about the 11 tanks, he shrugs and says only, "I did my job." The hill where it happened has no monument, no plaque. The wrecks were salvaged for scrap metal in 1944. Snow covers the ground each winter, erasing the scars. Only the archival photographs remain, grainy black and white images of a young man standing beside a gun, and behind him, smoke rising from the valley. There are moments in war that hinge not on grand strategy or massed armies, but on geometry, on a single man who understood angles better than his enemy did. Mikhail Surkov did not win the war that morning. He did not change the course of history. But for 8 minutes on a frozen Ukrainian hillside, he demonstrated a truth as old as warfare itself. Skill in terrain can defeat superior numbers when combined with patience and precision.